hello, everybody.
Hello,
Well,
everybody.
welcome to Inside the Booth. And I'm your host, Dan Arena. We got Tabitha next to me and our very special guest, Vincent Roth, who is Surge from Surge of Power.
Secret identities.
Oh,
Oh,
whoops.
man.
Dan does
My
that a
bad, my
lot.
bad.
He uses
I
people's real
do.
names. He does it a lot.
Yeah. So, welcome. Welcome, Vince.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tabitha.
Good to have you. And I guess before we get completely started, we want to say hello to everybody that's on the stream right now. We got Dax, Uncle Mike. We have R2.
And
And
Avery
who else do we
Cruz.
have? And Avery Cruz.
And we got
And
Lulu.
Lulu
Lulu.
Blue 21. All right. And TD.
And TD.
And he says, vanquish that like button. That's
And
right. So don't forget to vanquish the like button, everybody. Wing hugs indeed.
that's right.
And also, don't forget to go to our website, www.insidetheboottv.com, where you can buy some awesome merch if you want to help support us. We got koozies, sweatshirts like Tabitha, mugs. What else we have? And we have
Neck gaiters.
neck gaiters, which are also good for do rags.
Mhm.
So there you
And
go.
camera filters we have now discovered, right? Light filters from last time, right?
Oh, it can be. Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to use it as
right.
that.
Oh, thank you, TD. You look marvelous tonight.
And yeah, love hoodies, Lulu. Then you can go buy a hoodie. Do it after the show, though. Okay, don't do it now.
Great.
All right, and our special guest, Vince. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do.
Well, you want to hear just the superhero life or the full life?
A little bit of both, maybe. I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you want
Well,
to
I'm
do.
actually a business attorney by day and
Oh, nice.
superhero by night. So, I put that out to people pretty regularly. I say superhero attorney by day, superhero by night, and people think I'm joking. But it's real on both sides.
That's cool.
So I work in house for a little handful of healthcare companies in
nice.
San Diego. But then obviously you guys know me from my superhero life, and I've
Yeah.
been making the Surge of Power films since 2004. So we're on
That's a long time.
17 years now, yeah, uh, and we're on our fifth movie now, and we also have a web series, and then we also have this like little installment program we call Code of Heroes, where Surge comes up almost like public service announcements. Surge shows up and he like gives a quote, a sort of motivational thing about the a quality of what a superhero or what a hero in general should be like, and we're sort of building this like code of heroes as we go.
Oh,
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, so I've got lots of superhero stuff going on, and amidst my my day job,
Yeah.
I live this dual life. It's in more ways than one. It's so parallel to the comic book superheroes, right? And living their double lives, and that's like this continuing trope of people struggling with their day lives and their hero lives.
Yeah, definitely.
wow.
That's
Pretty cool.
fun. We got Rev Kev on. Hello, Rev Kev. And Phil,
Phil.
TMNT. He says, wait, is Vincent secretly Daredevil?
Daredevil. We'll never tell, Phil. That's just
right.
Those are the rules. You can't talk about it.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, cool. And so I guess tell us where I guess we can find you. I know I got a couple of places to find you down in the description box down below. But yeah, let us know where we can find you on the internet.
Well, probably the best place is our website, surgeofpower.org. And that has various project pages to take people into our various environments. So like each movie has its own page, and the web
Okay,
series has
cool.
its own page. Code of Heroes has its own page. So surgeofpower.org is probably the best place to go to kind of see everything all in one place, and then you just go through the pull down menu and find which environment you want to be in to see what project that interests you. But we're pretty active on social media too. So we have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, Instagram. Um, I also try. I mean, there's just so many things out there. I have a social
Yeah.
media that kind of handles the bulk of things, but I've also been like trying to at least put the Code of Heroes installments up on TikTok, since they're little like
Okay.
1 minute videos. So,
Oh,
um,
cool.
but mostly like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then all of our videos also go up on YouTube, so people can go
Yeah.
to our YouTube channel. So all of our stuff is there, and
I think
so
that's
yeah.
how I first saw your stuff was on the YouTube stuff.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
YouTube's working then.
Yeah. It
Okay,
works. YouTube's
all
working.
right,
That's right. That's good.
yeah.
Right.
And
And I see you do a lot of interviews yourself. Interviewing a lot of people there.
Well, is it
yeah,
him or is it the
Oh,
other guy?
Sir,
Surge.
yes, Surge does a lot of interviews.
So
That's right.
Surge, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we have this. Like I said, it's a web series. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna see if I've got a visual aid. Yeah, okay, here we go. Because on the poster behind me, it's like sort of down further than the camera is showing. So yeah, kind of a little offshoot to our films is that we've had so many celebrities in it. So many times I would. This is kind of my shtick. Okay, so when I did the first Surge of Power film, we wanted it to be humorous, and
Mhm.
and there's sort of the flavor of the old Batman Adam West TV show.
A little
We have a lot of
campy, yeah.
celebrity, yeah, a little campy, and we have a lot of celebrity cameos.
Mm-hmm.
So I also found that it's so much easier for me to like get the celebrities in the movies if I can talk to them directly. So comic conventions. So I would be at comic conventions, like playing one of my movies, and then I would have my guys suit me up, and we would go and talk to celebrities about being in the movies. And if anything, we'd at least try and get a little video from them, a little interview. And so we have this web series called Big City Chronicles. That's not just interviews, but it's mostly celebrity interviews. And there you can see like some of the people that we've interviewed. Some of them are in our movies, and some of them are just people that we've talked into doing little interviews with us. And so we're now on our 5th season of Big City Chronicles. There's also some fun stuff, like kind of little mini adventures of Surge and some behind the scenes videos, but a lot of it is the Surge interviewing an actor who has either been a superhero or has been a prominent sci-fi character, and that's kind of become one of our sticks as well. But it's also an avenue for me to get a lot of the celebrities into the movies because I'm able to talk with them, right? And then usually like right up front of their face, you actually like go to their booths at the comic convention. So buy a ticket to like get a picture and say, hey, I want to show my support. I'm buying a photograph to show my support for you. And then a lot of times they like even just ask the questions themselves. They say, "Oh, what's Surge of Power?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked." And then I go into the spiel and I say,
Brilliant.
"Oh, I play a superhero. We make superhero movies, and we have lots of celebrities in our movies." And I sometimes will, depending on how receptive they are, I try and pitch them on the Big City Chronicles interviews and see if I can get them and say, just give me a couple of minutes. Sometimes they'll talk for 2 minutes. Sometimes they'll talk for 5, 6, 8 minutes. Whatever they want to talk about.
Right.
And sometimes from that, I get a feel for like what would this person be like to work with.
Right.
So then I if I feel like I might broach the subject and say, hey, we're working on a film and we might have a role for you. I know sometimes they'll give me their agent or manager's info, or sometimes they'll give me their own info. Say, if you're interested, we could talk about this not today, but after the convention, when you have a quiet moment. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, talk with my agent or talk with my manager," and so that's oftentimes an avenue to get them into the films. Because if I talk with their agent and I've already had a face-to-face with them, I can say, I spoke with so-and-so at this convention. They told me to follow up with you, right?
Mhm.
That oftentimes leads to a better outcome than if we just cold call an agent who's never heard of us and the actor's never heard of us.
Because it kind of builds almost like a mini relationship just for those few minutes, I guess.
Exactly, because if the talent says to the agent, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy," and if they had a good interaction with me, like, "Oh yeah, I heard of that guy," talk with him or work out a deal or get more information. What is this about that he's talking about? Get a script or whatever. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I was one of my questions I was going to ask. It was like, how did you get? I tell you, I was just so impressed when I saw Nichelle Nichols come on, and she did a great job, and I was just like, how did he do that exactly? I just kind of wonder, and that's a brilliant tactic. I mean, and then like you said, you're dressed up, you've got your name going on, and they ask, what is that? And I mean, what a perfect avenue, like you said. Brilliant.
So now, so with the first film, we had 20 cameos. Now, some of them play dramatic roles, like Nichelle and Ferrigno and Noel Neal. Some of them are just quick little cameos, kind of like the Batman Adam West one, just in and out kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously now we're on our fifth film, and we have so many. Like in our sequel, we've got 50 cameos, and so I have so many at this point that it's that much easier. It kind of builds on itself. It gives itself its own credibility. If I say, hey, I'm on my fifth movie, and amongst my previous movies, I've got 100 celebrities that have been part of it, and some of them are recurring. Like Nichelle Nichols is in all of our movies, and I've already shot footage for her current movie and one more after this. So Nichelle Nichols will be in all of my movies.
Wow. Nice. That's brilliant. That's great.
Cool. Yeah.
and some folk coming back, I think that also helps the films. Like Lou Ferrigno has come back, so he's in 3 of the films. In our sequel, we shot with Robert Picardo, who played the holographic doctor on Star Trek Voyager, and he just came back to shoot in our latest movie. So when these actors play recurring roles, I think that also lends to the credibility of the projects, because they wouldn't come back if they didn't have a good experience. They wouldn't come back if they didn't like it. Come back if they didn't enjoy themselves on set or didn't enjoy the movie.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. So how did you know you wanted to start making movies?
Well,
how old were you?
I was probably about 30. So I didn't really it wasn't so much about making the movie. So here's what happened. So Dan and Tabitha, back before they called it cosplaying, when I would go to comic conventions, I would dress up in superhero costumes of characters that I liked, or characters that I looked like. Like I make a really good Robin.
Nice.
And over the years, Green Lantern, the Flash, I would make costumes of characters that that I liked to read about in the comics, saw in the cartoons and TV shows. But then a company I was working for, and again, I'm an in-house attorney. Company I was working for, they came up with this product and a kind of superhero-looking character to promote this new product line. So this character is called Commander X. And it's just sort of gray and orange, costume. The colors of the company's logo, Lantronics, and then orange X and then gray letters. And so this character, and he had this orange X on his mask and on his chest. And so they showed me, one of the marketing gals showed me some kind of cartoon drawings of the character. And just kind of offhandedly, I said, I'll have to make a costume like that for Halloween. The companies has, Halloween part of it. Some departments that get together and they all do a Halloween, they costume and dress up their workstations and stuff. And so she said, well, any chance you can make that now? And this was February. I said, well, why would I make a Halloween costume in February? She says, well, we have a trade show coming up in April, and it would be really cool to have Commander X there. And so I said, okay, well, give me some pictures. And so I took them and I looked at them and I thought, okay, how do I translate this cartoon drawing into 3 dimensions?
Yeah.
And Taylor involved, yeah. And so I made at that time what I thought was my pièce de résistance of costumes, and I really wanted this to look nice. And as I looked at it, I thought what are these things? Is this supposed to light up? I made some things light up. I had a tailor, work on some of the body parts, and we did this reveal at the company. And the marketing gal, helped me suit up in my office, and I thought we were just showing her boss, who was the VP of marketing. And I step out of my office, and there's like 30 people, from the CEO on down, all standing outside my office waiting to see Commander X. And they loved it so much, the VP of marketing went to my boss and said, "We have to have Vincent." So they would transfer me out of the legal department into the marketing department to go to trade shows. So periodically, I would be going to trade shows and portraying this character, Commander X, as it was just kind of part of this campaign, marketing campaign to sell these products. And so it was from there, like friends would come to the trade shows to like see me, not for anything else in the trade show, they just come to see me in superhero form. And that led into the discussions of like, I've done costumes of other people's characters. I want to do something with a character of my own. And Surge had been in my head for many, many years. And I thought, well, yeah. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? Like make a costume and like stand on the street corners? Like, what am I going to do with the costume? And
right.
So that's where the idea of making films. A colleague of mine up in LA had a short film of his own that was kind of a send up of old like 50s B horror movies, and he was taking it around the trade show to film festivals. And I asked him, I said, hey, how did you go about this? And that's what started me down the process of making the first Surge of Power film.
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Yeah, so it was
That's
kind of like elevating from cosplay to saying, hey, I really want to do something with a character of my own. And what do I do with it? Do I just walk around a comic convention, or do I, you know what I mean? Like, what should my character do? I should have an adventure, and so that's what led to.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's a good. Great. That is good. And it shows in your movies that you love Comic-Con conventions and stuff like that. It's because that's how your first one starts, basically.
Yes, that was nicely done.
To read, yeah, exactly. I liked it. That was good.
Yeah, and that was shot at San Diego Comic-Con. We shot that in 2003, I think. I wanted that sort of. It's kind of like that framework story, like Wizard of Oz, right? You start off in reality, and then you kind of go into the fantasy world, and you go back to reality, kind of a thing.
Right.
Like a comic book come to life kind of thing.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Princess Bride kind of thing, where the grandpa's reading the story to the child. Yeah, that kind of element.
Yeah. And also too, there's like this sort of outside story. The framework story there is, this guy's walking around the comic convention. He's kind of moping, kind of, frumpy, and picking up the Surge of Power comic and reading it, which is the story the audience is seeing. But his little excerpts, his little vignettes are him kind of getting reinvigorated into the genre to the point where he buys the comic and then later buys a Surge of Power t-shirt, and then is on the lookout for a Surge of Power action figure by the end. So it's kind of like showing that sort of like, even as an adult, that stimulation and excitement.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of which, do you have a Surge of Power little action figure?
From the movies, yeah. So I still have the action figure, that we made, custom for the first.
Do you? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Was it like I see a lot of people, they mold things out of clay and stuff. Was it like a clay figure type looking thing, or what's it made out of?
It's was essentially a repurposed other action figure.
Okay.
I can grab it and show it to you if you want to see it.
Sure. That'd be fun.
Bring him along.
Bring him along. That's right.
Hey, Kaylee. I see you
there.
Yeah,
while you're doing that, we say hello to Jedi Knight, Kaylee, and I think a couple other people showed up, but we're interested in.
Okay. So it's just a repurposed action figure, and
that's pretty cool.
A prop maker, kind of. See, it's getting a little old. There's some cracks there, but
that's all right.
So at the end of the first movie, the comic fan is looking for a Surge action figure, and then you see at the end as the camera pans by that he actually did find one, and this is figure. It's had a little wear and tear over the years, but this is sort of like a facsimile of Surge. Yeah,
right.
It probably look better without the cape, though.
Uh-oh, there we go.
I like that little Yeah, I did like that little trick with the cape when you push the button, it comes in
Yeah,
into the. That
yeah.
was good.
Well, that got introduced in the sequel. I mean, obviously that became a running joke,
Hmm.
in the first film, and then we carry those cape jokes into the sequel, and then him Surge being able to retract the cape, and then that's become a thing too. So now when Surge goes into action, he retracts his cape, and he's a little more nimble. And then also too when action is done, he puts the cape back on.
Yeah, because he
So
likes the cape.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it also makes it a little easier for visual effects too, because when Surge is flying, then without the cape, they don't have to like deal with as much and
It's
worry
Right.
about
true.
That
gravity
is
and
true.
physics and wind and
That's true.
yeah.
Uh,
So
so it's kind of like it reminded me of The Incredibles when that little lady says, "No capes."
okay. Well, I remember we were still working on the first film when the first Incredibles came out, and I had heard about it. I remember standing outside in line. I was at it was the Egyptian Theater in L.A. where I was going to see it, and I had heard that they had cape chips. I'm like, oh crap! I hope they don't like do mine, because we
Right.
weren't quite ready to put the movie out yet. And thankfully, when I saw it, their cape jokes are different than ours. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
They didn't steal my thunder, So I at least I
Right.
didn't because I didn't want to look like I was copying them too, right? I was like, all right, I've
Right.
been
Right.
Exactly.
in the works
Yeah.
for like a year, and their movie's about to come out, and like I'm gonna look like I copied them. So thankfully,
Right.
it didn't happen. So
That's
Yeah,
good.
I could see that. All that work, all that effort, the planning, and it's like
yeah.
possibly gone in smoke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that still happens,
Mhm.
where like a movie comes out and something's going on, and like, I look at things, I'm like, oh crap, they did this in their movie, and then I have to, so far nothing's like really, changed things too much. But when I started the first films, I have this story arc that I've been unfolding, and to get to the end is going to take a few more years, but as like Marvel's been putting out like the Avengers films, some of this way like their team came together and some of the stuff they're doing, I'm like, oh, they're getting close to like my story, but thankfully they haven't hit it enough that I'm like, oh, now I gotta rewrite something so I don't look like I copied them. So
Right.
doing
Oh
okay,
my.
crossing my fingers here.
Yeah.
Add
I
some
think you'll be all right.
yeah. I'm putting some more light on here. The sun is starting to go down here, so
Oh, is it?
there we go. Yeah,
We want to say yes, Jedi Knight
so I've
Edna.
got
Yes,
natural
right
light out there, but I'm losing some of the natural light because the sun's starting to go down.
there. Okay, yeah, I can kind of tell there. But you
Sets
still
a
look
mood.
good. That's all that matters, right? Sets the
Right.
mood. Cool, cool. So I guess what is your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? Wow.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like a movie that I would watch over and over and over again, or are you talking about like
Yes.
within the genre? What is my favorite movie?
And it's a
Uh,
hard question, right?
How about both? How about both?
how do you? I mean,
What's
how do you like? Like,
Yeah.
how do I like what movie? Favorite movie of all time. I mean, it's really hard to say. Like,
Yeah.
is there a movie that I would, you know, pick up and watch over and over again? I mean, like, back. And I'm a child of the '80s. Back when like cable first came out, there
Mhm.
weren't like that many movies, and they play all the time, and you'd watch the same movie over and over again. I mean, I
Right,
remember
that's true.
watching movies like uh, 9 to 5. Dolly Parton and Lily Tomlin. I mean, probably saw that like 20 times, and when ET came out, I probably saw ET, and
Oh yeah, they played ET a lot.
times. There's certain movies that like back in the day it was more common to see. Now there's like so much out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movies that like they would put on all the time. I don't know if there's like one particular favorite movie of all time. I mean, there's certainly movies that have inspired me in different ways, but I think from a standpoint of like the genre where I'm coming from, I think the first Avengers movie um, is is pretty high up there in my
Okay.
mind because of how they sort of like laid the foundation with
With
kind of
all the
like the
characters, yeah.
soda seed in the Incredible Hulk movie, and then Iron Man and Thor
Yeah.
and Captain America, and then And then the way the first Avengers movie came together, I thought it was written so brilliantly in that you could watch it on its own with no problem, but if you had seen the previous movies, you would appreciate it so much more because you would know all of what's gone on in the previous four movies. And then just sort of as the team formed during the course of the movie, you have the sort of couple of characters interacting with each other, and you get to Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man coming together, and you have that kind of seminal moment, like this comic book page moment where you have the three of them standing there facing each other in this quiet moment, this denouement for that particular scene, and and it just keeps on building. They just sort of built up to the six of them at a good pace throughout the film. It was to me, it was very satisfying storytelling.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Especially within the genre and how it was designed. So I definitely use that as sort of part of my inspiration as I build my world, and not only add in characters of my own creation, but invite other independent characters into my movies. So that's another thing we've been doing, is having sort of our guest superhero of other creators who have their own pre-existing characters, and inviting them to cross over into the Surge of Power movies.
That's cool. That's pretty neat. And then TD says it's easier nowadays to watch movies whenever you want.
Oh yeah, with streaming for everything. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
That's why it's hard to get anything accomplished these days. Between social media and streaming, I mean.
Yeah, and there's so much out there. There's just so much content. I mean, I can't keep up with things. People ask me, they say, "Oh, you would love this program. Oh, would you love this?" And I watched there's certain superhero TV programs, and then I try and keep up with the movies. I'm a little behind. I'm hoping to see Shang-Chi and the latest Venom movie, but there's so much TV out there, and there's only limited time in the day. So I tell people, say, are there superpowers? No. Spacecraft? No. Time travel? Laser zapping? One of those, and I'm not watching.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not interested in anything else.
There's already
you got to have high standards.
Yeah, there's already too much within the genre that I don't need to watch anything else. So.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. And a lot of times nowadays with movie trailers, they release so much information in the trailers that you almost don't even need to watch the movie because you already kind of know how it's going to end.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was just talking with a friend of mine. There's when even sitting in the movie theater and watching the trailer, you get the 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 22 minutes for previews. And you're absolutely right. Tabitha, you see certain films, especially if it's some of those romance films, you kind of know, you see in the trailer the strife in the relationship, and there's obviously the resolution at the end. You're like, I just saw the whole movie. I don't need to watch
that. Exactly. Right. Exactly. That's true. That's so true.
Especially if it's a Hallmark movie. It's always the same plot anyway. So.
Hallmark. Hey, now, I know at least one person in my family who likes Hallmark movies.
It's David, isn't it?
Oh, okay. That's David. Yeah, my wife. I think David's wife likes it too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm one of the few women in the world that it's just like, no, I'd rather watch Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or something else, because again, it's always the same story. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the sci-fi genre, like superhero films too, and sci-fi films, they sometimes follow us, things they fare, very common tropes and structure, and but it's stuff that we like, and we will go back to the to the trough over and over again for it.
Yeah. Right. I'm just not a huge romance movie person. Like if a movie has romance in it, so since most Hallmark movies are all about romance and they don't seem to be too concerned with originality, I'm like, I'm out. That's where my standard is. I'm out. The guy gets the girl. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So I was going to say, did you see I don't know if you like these movies, the Ghostbuster movies. Have you seen the trailer to the new one?
I have not. No.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so is this
Are you
this is a back to? No, wait. This is the sequel to the original. Is that correct?
correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
some of the guys, and it's their kids or something.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Like grandkids or
Egon's
something.
kids. Yep.
Yeah.
Egon's grandkids. I think it is. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I haven't seen it. Right. You gonna play the trailer or something?
No, 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 no. I was just wondering if you saw you. Do you want to see it? I could pull
Dan's
it
a
up, but
big Ghostbusters fan, so I
Yeah.
think he's just looking
yeah,
for a
yeah.
friend.
I'm pretty,
Well,
pretty
then
big
Dan, what
Ghostbuster
did
fan
you?
here.
What did I didn't see the female version? What did you? I saw clips. I saw parts of it. What did you think about the female version of Ghostbusters? Go ahead.
Um, honestly,
No.
it wasn't written too well,
No,
so
it
Yeah.
I didn't
wasn't.
really like it too much. I did like the proton packs and the gadgets, you know, um, but as for acting, it didn't hit it for me, you know.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, that's about it. It's goodness, and the way they made what was it, Chris Hemsworth character,
Yeah.
they made him look so dumb. I mean, no one person, guy or female, is that dumb in real life. You know what I mean?
We don't get out
just
much,
the
too,
way-
Dan.
Yeah.
I guess not.
He's
Why,
not
are
watching,
they? Are some
he's
people
not
out there
watching
that dumb?
TikTok videos.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not watching any TikTok videos.
Yeah, they did really make him the, if you will, the stereotype, like the male edition of the dumb blonde. You know, like with the hot dumb blonde, basically just male edition. And so I guess that since we're so accustomed to seeing him as Thor and things like that, I guess it got on everybody's nerves that he would put himself in that position. But from what I heard was the fact that he wanted to kind of expand his horizons because he's not known for being a comedy actor. And so he wanted to give it a try. I thought he was funny. Yeah, he was the dumb blonde, but I thought he actually did he did a good job being the dumb blonde. I have to give him kudos for that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
who does this when there's a big loud bang in the room or something? He covers his eyes and goes, "Oh, that was loud." I mean, who does that? Nobody does that in real life.
Well,
You
but
know?
that's the whole point, Dan. That's
Oh boy.
my
I didn't
favorite
see
part.
it.
When he goes to clean his lenses and he goes right through his glasses and touches his eyes, and they're like, "You don't wear lenses in your glasses?" He's like, "No, I find they get smudged too quickly, so I just thought I'd take them out." I know it's stupid, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it. I guess that's why I thought it was funny.
Gotcha.
Neither of you are selling it to me yet, so okay.
Oh, I'm not really
Yeah.
recommending the movie. I'm just saying, like, to me, honestly, it's been forever since I've seen it. That's like the one part that I remember. Honestly, what Dan was even talking about, I don't even remember that part. I just remember that one part. I thought it was funny,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, no, it's not that great of a movie. I mean, my kid likes it because it's definitely got the graphics, you know, and the action that's like very fast action. But it wasn't really too funny or anything. It just
Okay.
it didn't do it for me for storytelling wise. The plot was not a good plot, but
Well, we'll see how
Yeah.
the real sequel goes.
yeah. I like how he said that, the real sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. I heard it was really good, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed and gonna go watch it.
That's all we can do.
That's right. That's right. Cool. Let's see here. But so obviously you kind of already answered this. In movie wise, what is your favorite genre? Is it the Star Wars type stuff or is it the superhero stuff?
Well, I probably, I think I certainly watch both, so I'm not limited.
Right,
on,
right.
You know,
And
yeah,
I mean, you could tell that in your
Star
movies
Wars.
anyway. Right.
But certainly like the superhero segment of the sci-fi genre, appeals to me, a little bit more. But I love those, sci-fi movies. They're a lot bigger. They're just like a bigger environment where like superhero
Yeah.
films are focusing on like a few characters. right? But when you get into like a Star Wars or a Star Trek kind of film, you're dealing with an environment, not like a character or even a group of characters, right? A Spider-Man movie is about Spider-Man. An
Yeah.
Avengers movie is about a handful of Avengers, right? But when it comes to a Star Wars film, you've got more than a dozen characters that are
Right.
going on, right? And you probably have like 3 dozen characters that are all prominent. And the same with a Star Trek film, right? You have like the whole crew. You have a dozen people on the bridge that are like the focal point, but so many other ancillary characters that are supporting the story. So they're kind of
Mhm.
bigger environments. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? From a storytelling landscape, it's not just like Peter Parker and a villain and a Mary Jane
Right.
interacting with each other.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Um. So, what Star Trek is your favorite out of all the different ones? What's there? I don't even know what there is. Next Generation,
Yeah,
Voyager. Uh, which one's
The
your favorite?
original.
I think
Yeah.
I probably enjoyed. I mean, when I think about it, I think I like the Next Generation probably the best
That's my
of
Oh,
them.
favorite.
okay.
I think they've done. I mean, they certainly have done some creative things more recently, but some of them, they certainly have bigger budgets. But I don't know if the storytelling has gotten better.
Yeah.
They try and write compelling stories, but there's things that they do that, um, and I felt that they were a lot more careful with the storytelling with the Next Generation, and
Oh yeah.
and it seemed like especially after the first 2 seasons, they really got a groove on in good storytelling and compelling stories that were
Hmm.
interesting, that were exciting, that were fun, that
Memorable. Yeah.
you know resolved at the end. It almost seemed like the storytelling was more important than the sci-fi and the spacecraft and fight scenes and stuff. But they would have enough in there in the Next Generation that it was still enjoyable.
Hmm.
Even though there was more about Captain Picard talking someone down off a cliff of getting into a fight. You're like, are we getting a fight? Or is he talking them out of it? Oh, he's talking them out of it. Yeah, okay, good. So saving
It
on the
does seem
visual
to
effects.
be more diplomatic series than the rest. They were even the originals seem to be a little bit more action, like you said, a little bit more exploration rather than the story itself. And I think, like you're right, the Next Generation kind of focused more on how they dealt with the problem versus facing the problem head on, like in a lot
Hmm.
of the other ones. And I think that's what intrigues me the most is like the almost like the political aspect of how they deal with the problem. It's because it's different on a lot of shows, especially science fiction shows. Nobody's thinking about diplomatic problem and how to solve and resolve things, between different nations and stuff like that in any kind of thing, like as far as science fiction is concerned. Like we want to know about aliens and we want to know about different planets and things like that. We don't want the weird stuff. Whereas this
Hmm.
one, like you said, it just kind of integrated it into the story without being too exasperating.
That's right. All right. Um, I guess let's go back to talking about another one of your movies. The
Yeah,
Surge of Dawn. I kind of like the concept that you put in there.
yeah.
Um, the the vampire lady, she serves God and not the devil anymore, or something like that. It was pretty neat.
Well,
How'd you
that's
come up with that?
I didn't come up with that. So Surge of
Oh,
Dawn is side is the Surge of Dawn photo. There we go. So you can't really see her there, but she's down there. There you go. There's Dawn. So
right.
Dawn is a pre-existing character. She is a creation from a New York filmmaker, Alex Fernandez. So she was our first guest superhero. In fact, that
Oh, okay.
you can see the tagline of the film is "The Indieverse starts here,"
Oh,
and
nice.
so that was our first foray. So it's kind of interesting. Like I didn't, you had mentioned in your emails about the spirituality, which I sewed into
Hmm.
the first two Surge of Power films.
Yeah.
But I did less or so with Surge of Dawn because it's kind of already baked into Dawn's character. So Dawn is the
Okay.
pre-existing character. She appears. She's got a web series of her own, award-winning web series. Like I said, this creator out of New York, Alex Fernandez. Um, she has a comic book. He has some other independent creators that make comic books of Dawn.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so we talked about crossing over our characters, and this was a really a really interesting creation because Surge, the first two feature films are are real are campy, upbeat, colorful,
Mm-hmm.
and Dawn is, as you said, she's a
Yes.
magical vampire. Her origin is she was a witch centuries ago. Her family died of the plague, and um, she wanted to cheat death, and a vampire turned her, and so she was already a witch, and now she's a vampire witch. So now she's been alive for 1,000 years, and she turned over a new leaf, centuries ago, and serves God and fights demons. Got a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of kind of like a um, Buffy the Vampire
Buffy the
Slayer or
Vampire Slayer.
Right.
Blade kind of concept, going on. So it's a
Right.
much darker environment. People die, and it's a much grittier environment. And
Mm-hmm.
to blend our worlds together, it actually works really well. So the tone of the Surge of Power world gets a bit more serious now,
Mm-hmm.
and then also too where fitting, Surge's humor, fits in these sort of pauses of the like darker activity that's going on that seems like it works well,
Mm-hmm.
amongst Dawn and some related characters. And not only was Dawn sort of invited over, but Alex Fernandez has a number of web series that he does. One is a more sci-fi oriented show called Body Jumpers, and a couple of his characters from other web series of his also show up in Surge of Dawn. So it's almost like a crossover amongst a number of his web series in the Surge of Power world.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. I like that. Um. So yeah. Speaking of the spirituality in the movies, what made you want to throw that in there
Well,
in the first couple movies there?
yeah. Well, so like I said, I wanted to do something with a character of my own,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly, aspects of myself are expressed in this. Like I said, I wanted to bring comedy back to the superhero environment.
Mm-hmm.
So this was back in 2004. So this is long before Deadpool, long before the Shazam movie, right? So now
Right.
Marvel has their campy, fun superhero in Deadpool,
Mm-hmm.
and the DC now has its campy, fun superhero in the Shazam movies. But long before that, I was doing this with Surge of Power films. Also, too, if I was going to make a superhero film of my own, I decided not only was I going to use humor, but Surge would be openly gay, because there
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been a gay superhero in live action as a lead character in his own movie before. So
Right.
Surge is cinema's first out gay superhero, and spirituality was also something I thought was important to express. Now, in Surge's life, it's expressed with, as you mentioned in the emails, like there's a Jesus statue where Surge, in his alter ego Gavin, he talks with. He doesn't pray to; he just sort of
Yeah.
talks to. It's
Talks
just,
to, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
he just
Right.
sort of like talks to the statue, like, "Hey, blah blah blah." Um,
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
that's essentially what prayer is, anyway. So.
yeah, yeah. So it's not like sitting there; he's not down on his hands and knees or anything. He just
Right.
sort of
Right.
talks to this Jesus statue, and then also too things unfold in response to that, sort of subtly, not like
Mm-hmm.
directly, but right.
Yeah.
So there's
Exactly.
something there's some metaphysical subtext going on, which we all experience in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Whether people have a particular faith tradition or not. Um, all of us, I mean, even atheists have some, even if it's a rudimentary, crude awareness of metaphysics operating in life, right? There's always those things that you realize of like how something feels like it's planned out in your life, or circumstances come together a certain way, or right.
Yeah.
I think we
Providential,
all,
yeah.
yeah, I think we all can like look at things and see how like the universe is providing for us in certain ways. I didn't want it to be preachy, so like I said, it's kind of the statue that Gavin has in his room, and he talks to it now and then. Um, not deliberately, it's kind of there. Like after the
Mm-hmm.
freak accident that that he survived and gets his powers from before he realizes his powers, he's getting dressed and tying his sneakers, and he makes a comment. He goes, "Oh, I guess you want me around here a little bit longer," as he says Jesus statue, right? He's
Right,
sort of
right,
like thanking God, like, okay, thank you for not letting me die, right? But he's
right. Yeah,
doing this casual, almost slightly sarcastic way, right? So he's not really like praying, but he's sort of talking. Um, and like I said, it's to have this sort of slight metaphysical, subtext going on, because as the story unfolds, like everything he needs is provided for, when he gets to his rooftop battle,
yeah,
and and I'm sure all of us can appreciate it probably in more than one time in our lives where we felt that circumstances like coalesced in a way that you felt that the universe provided for you or took care of you
hmm
or protected you or opened up the door for you.
right, right.
Right.
Even with this sort of like you know uh, uh, concepts of like being at the right place at the right time, or it was meant to be, or right, things like that, or um, yeah, we all have these sort of you know uh, metaphysical concepts that we're aware of and expressions of things.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. That was cool. Because most people here on Inside the Booth know that we are, we're Christians and stuff like that. So I was like, that's pretty cool, because I didn't know what to expect watching your movies. So I was like, hey,
Right. Well, like
thumbs
I
up
said,
there.
it's
I like that.
yeah. Well, I was born and raised Catholic when I was back in
hmm
Philly. Went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic college, and then when I moved to California, I discovered non-denominational Christian-based churches. So I moved away from Catholicism, but I've been church-going Christian boy at heart. Um,
Yeah.
but then also too in the sequel, we get introduced to the homophobic parents of my
hmm
villain, the Metal Master. His
Right.
parents are played by Linda Blair and Gil Gerard, who are Jewish.
Right.
So I wanted to come from a different angle, a different faith tradition, and their struggles with their child, and also the effects of that, that family rejection, and how that
Yeah.
is people from the first film,
And that's a real thing that happens. So
it
that
is absolutely.
and it sucks. It shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
fans from the first film, where they wanted to see more about the Metal Master, they
hmm
and also too around that time, you could see this unfolding in superhero films where like people really wanted to see more about the villains, right? So
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
X-Men movies, they started focusing so much on Magneto or Glincher,
Magneto.
right? What
Yeah.
turned him evil, right? So this started to kind of become the movement in the genre. So
Mhm.
we explored, why is the Metal Master evil? What sent him? Why did Surge come out? The Metal Master's also gay, but his family rejected him, and it was that rejection that started him down a dark path of becoming a villain.
hmm
Um, and then that unfolds, and you see that tension, and you hear about it, and you see the struggle that the parents are having in trying to reconcile their faiths with their child's lifestyle, but realizing there's like some serious consequences here. It's not just the family unit now, it's like their son
hmm
is a supervillain who is causing havoc and harming people, and attacking cities, and society is suffering, not just the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. And I liked at the end there when he calls his son. He says, "What you doing for Hanukkah?" And I was like, that's good. He wants to bring the family back together. So that was
Reconciliation, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was his story arc, of showing that reconciliation. And then people ask, like, what happens to the Metal Master now? And like, well, I don't know. What do you think happened?
Right.
Now that he's getting acceptance from his family, or his evil ways done, or is that not going to have that much of an impact to his life? So
Yeah.
So
That's
your
true.
movies are kind of like the old fashioned fairy tales where it's like it's a children, if you will, it's a children's story, but has actually heavier meaning if you kind of pay attention. Like your movies
Yeah.
are funny and kind of like a parody and everything, but it's actually got deeper, underlying things that are sprinkled throughout.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping I'm sending a message. Like with the first film, Gavin always wanted, he's a comic book reader, always wanted superpowers, and then he finally gets his powers. But then he realizes at the end of the story that he didn't need his powers to save
Right.
the day. right?
Hmm.
There were like innate qualities and abilities that he already had and didn't need his powers. So that was sort of the message from the first film, and
Yeah.
that family struggle and reconciliation, with the Metal Master is sort of the theme that's going on with in the sequel. And yeah, I
Hmm.
hope I'm saying something, something that people are taking away, not just having a good time, but are getting a message. Um,
Right.
Now too, with like I said, with the Surge of Dawn film,
Hmm.
um, bringing Surge like kind of into a more real world, a little less campy, still with humor in it though. We're
Hmm.
evolving to a place where I think it's going to be more like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of movie where there's serious circumstances and people are in peril, people do die, but there's humor sewn in along the way. So we still have
Yeah.
some campy flavor, but in a more real world, which I hope people also get, some motivation or some story, some message, to take away that sits with them.
Right. That's cool. Very cool. Now, before I talk about the costume, I want to talk about your car. I love that Firebird. Man, I had a Camaro when I was 16, with T tops, and obviously it rotted out. I got rid of it because I live in New York, and everything's going to rust here.
Yeah.
So, and
Oh,
then when I saw your car, I was like, man, that is dope.
It was really
I
cool
love it.
looking.
well, did you see but if you saw the sequel, then you saw the car turns into a robot and turns
Yep,
into
I saw that
and
one.
it
Yep.
flies. Okay, great, yeah. And the car has its own personality too.
Yep, yeah, I
Yeah.
remember seeing that, and I
So
liked when you changed. Oh, I don't like this guy. Let me turn it. let me turn it to a different voice or a different character
yeah.
to
Well, like
talk to me.
yeah, like you do with your phone or with your Bluetooth or
Yeah,
with your GPS machine, you can program different personalities, right? Um, so what? But actually, that second personality is actually another character, in the films. But
hmm,
um, kind of taking the Kit idea from Knight Rider, taking it to like a whole
Hmm.
nother level. Um, Within the Surge Mobile is this program called Mavis, is a mobile autonomous vehicle intelligence system, um, played by Shannon Farnan, who was Wonder Woman on the Super Friends for
Ah.
10
oh,
years. So she was the longest running Wonder Woman to date. And I was just delighted that,
that's
like,
cool.
the personality of my car is Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Wonder Woman I grew up with from the Super Friends. And I was just
Oh
so
my.
delighted to have her come on board. And, we dress her up in red and blue, and she wears this gold eagle necklace, so it kind of gives a wink and nod to her former life as Wonder Woman. But
That's so
she's
cool.
now she's now Mavis, and she's more than a program. She was born later, and in the movie that we're working on now, um, we start to move away from that instead of just like the trope of the red and blue with the eagle. And Mavis is going to come out with her own, you know, specifically designed outfit for her, and she's a little more mobile
That's
now
cool.
too.
Oh,
In the sequel,
nice.
where she's inside the car and on the dashboard and appears on
Hmm.
the windshields of the car. Um, so Surge of Dawn, we see her transmit herself outside of the car like a hologram.
Right.
So she becomes a bit more independent, almost like the holographic doctor from Star Trek Voyager. He's out and about and roaming
Oh, there
around,
you go.
interacting with
Yeah.
other characters. And then we learn a little bit more about who Mavis really is and where she came from is more than just a program. But yeah, the car was really fun, and it's now become like a sidekick or even another character in the films. In the
Hmm.
first film, it was more of just kind of like your superhero trope, right? His car, and
Hmm.
he had a couple of buttons and switches and some things that the car does. But in the sequel, it becomes his helper, it becomes his guy in the chair, technical assistance. It becomes
Right.
a sidekick. And in the Surge of Dawn movie, it really is
Turns
like
into a robot.
Mavis is like a huh?
So it turns into a robot
I know, right?
transformer. Yeah.
In the Revenge of the sequel, it turns into a robot. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean
Yep.
that was sort of an obvious thing that I just had to
You
have.
had to do it. Yep.
Take it beyond just and I also had to like at the end it turns into a jet and flies. So it turns into a jet again in Surge of Dawn, but in Surge of Dawn it becomes really like a trio of Dawn and Mavis and Surge running
Hmm.
around together, dealing with the the evil threat in Surge of Dawn. So we got a little
Yeah,
trio
that's
going on there, kind of like how Captain America, the
cool.
second Captain America movie, it kind of became like this little trio of Captain America and Black Widow and Falcon. We had kind of like
Mhm.
a little trio running around together.
Right. So is that your car, your personal car, or is
I
that something you
I
guys
do
bought and you
I do
painted,
own
or?
the Surge Mobile. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
Oh,
my
cool.
daily car. Yeah, I have it downstairs in my carport. I call it the
Now,
Surge
did
Cave.
you,
And
right? That's cool. Did you own it before you turned it into a surge car?
I did. It was actually, um, it wasn't blue and it didn't look like that back in the day, but it was the first car I bought when I got to California,
Oh,
and
very cool.
it was it was charcoal gray at first, and I had it painted green. I got teal green, and then when it came
Oh,
movie
nice.
time, I had bought a more regular day, more conservative daily driving car.
Right.
Also, it's an older car, and it needed to baby it a bit,
Yeah,
and
of course.
then we, painted it blue and turned it into the Surge Mobile. And then by the sequel, we even jazzed up the lights even more. So it's got more LED lights
yeah.
and gave it this
Nice. That's
vinyl
cool.
wrap with really nice design to it. So
Right.
we,
That
we
is
we
cool.
jazzed it up a bit, and I do baby it, but it is my car, and it is in the carport downstairs.
Nice. Nice.
It's pretty
Very
cool.
cool. Now, when I was younger, I realized that the Firebirds, with the lights that go up and down, sometimes the mechanisms break and stuff. Did you have to fix any of them?
Well, what I did realize over time, like very early on, was like that whoever owned it before me
Mm-hmm.
really rode it hard, and so like as
Oh,
things are
okay. Yeah.
going wrong, it was in the repair shop so many times. I mean, I spent so much more repairing the car than I spent in buying the car.
Right.
But
Of course.
when I got it to a certain point, I'm like, well, I put so much money into it, I can't get rid of it now.
Right.
So
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
now, fortunately, the headlights haven't gone out, but there's
Oh,
been
good.
enough other things that have gone out over time that have had to
Yeah.
be repaired. But I know I've got a really great shop that takes care of me. It's in
Oh,
Mission
that's good.
Automotive
Yeah.
here in San Diego, and the owner Randy Bagan. He's a great guy, and he has been really supportive. And he himself sometimes works on certain things on the car, like he doesn't even let the mechanic. He's like, no, I will handle that myself. Or when other clients call, the other customers, they will have to adhere to a certain schedule or whatever, and he says, no, Vincent gets whatever he wants. So they
That's
make
good. That's
exceptions.
cool.
They make exceptions.
Nice.
So,
That's cool.
so yeah, he like, and he's seen the clips of the car, and the car turned into a robot and a plane, and so it's exciting for them too to see some of their workmanship,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
going
Of
out on the
course.
road, right?
Yeah.
It's part of their own hands, worked on this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My Camaro had a leakage problem up on the T tops.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that when the rubber rots out?
Oh well, it's more for me for the windows, but I've sort of accommodated it. And
Okay.
when I take it through a car wash, I just have a towel that I just keep in the car. Actually, like there's a power towel
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Nice.
that are in the car, and so like I have to hold one up by the window because like water will drip in.
Right.
So yeah, there's some light leaks, but I'm in California. It rains so rarely that it's not really a problem.
Right.
You
That's
know,
true. That's good.
but when I do take it through the car wash, yeah, some things are leaking, or like water like accumulates in the tail lights. I had to like
Okay.
drill
Yeah, I
a hole
remember
so the
that. Yeah.
water would like, because otherwise the water would sit there and the tail lights would
Right.
run out, and so
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
I
it's getting
remember that.
older and it gets harder to repair over time, and they have to start
Mm.
sending people out to junkyards to hunt for things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have to baby it because it's up there
Do
in
you,
its years.
do you take it to any car shows?
I only took it to a car show. A buddy of mine is more into the car show stuff than I did. I took it once and I won second place for,
Oh, that's cool.
what did I win second place for? Um, in whatever category, it was some audience appreciation or whatever. So I can't remember what the category was, but won second place. It also won an award at a Pride Parade, Nevada, at Las Vegas's Pride Parade. So I have this like
Oh, nice.
Nevada shaped plaque for like most decorated vehicle or something, and I didn't even decorate it. Just like it comes this way. I just turned
Nice.
on all the lights, and I have this like speaker system, and these like boat speakers that like they magnetize to like your boat and like
Okay, yeah,
so
I've
there's
seen
like
that.
4 speakers that I put on that like blares the Surge theme
Oh,
while
there you go.
driving through Brand, and I'm walking over the megaphone like yelling to the crowd, and
Oh, there you go.
guys
That's
in
cool.
blue Surge shorts, handing out postcards to people and take the car through Pride parades, and it won an award for that. So yeah,
Oh, that's
my
fun.
award-winning Surge mobile.
There you go. Nice title to have.
That's right. That's fun. That's fun. Cool. All right. So the other thing I was going to ask is about your costume, the mask part of it. Where did you get the idea for the mask to have your hair showing and not like cover the whole thing like a Batman cowl or
Oh
something?
well, probably the 2 comic characters that I saw that on were Kid Flash and Cyclops. So Kid Flash in the DC
Okay.
comics and Cyclops in Marvel comics, and yeah, I really just I liked that style of like seeing the hair, and there was something more personal about that than like having a dome over your head, and that was sort of the design for the for the first film was the that sort of helmet look, and then halfway through the sequel we introduced the smaller stylized little
Yeah,
domino
almost
mask.
like a Robin or something there. Yep.
Yeah, very sort of Nightwing inspired,
Yeah.
domino mask. Like there's a domino mask, like a those little Halloween mask kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Surge still has the helmet because I recently shot with a colleague of mine who's having Surge cross over into his films. So
Oh,
we had
okay.
2 scenes, and he and his girlfriend really liked Surge's helmet. Um, so he said, "Would you bring the helmet?" So it was kind of cool to like put the helmet on with the more updated, modernized, battle suit, and see it together, and it's kind of cool. So it shows that like years later, Surge still has his helmet. Um,
Right. That's
but
cool.
I did kind of put it out to the audience of what they liked more, the helmet versus the domino mask. People seem to like the domino mask better.
Well, you
Yeah.
have gray hair, so I think that's really the
Yeah.
reason why.
Oh, wait, thank you. But yeah, to answer Dan's question, it was from from seeing like Kid Flash in the cartoons and
Yeah.
Cyclops, seeing that hair sticking up at the top was just sort of like I
Right.
said. I just feel it feels more personal and more comfortable, like it almost relaxed, I guess, than
Right.
being so like
Closed
Instead of
in.
a full
cleaned and
on
covered.
cowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Batman cowl.
Yeah. Plus, it lets your head breathe. You get some.
There you go. Yeah, you don't sweat as much, right? At least not on top of your head.
Right.
Oh yeah, I've sweat. It's padded, imported Italian blue leather, and it's very hot under
Oh
that.
I
wow.
imagine.
Very.
Very, I sweat profusely, and yeah, I get
How many
dehydrated.
suits do you
Yeah.
have to have? Like, do you have on hand for filming?
Oh, there's only one. This is
Oh,
an
really?
independent film, honey. This isn't Marvel. Like,
Right. Right.
this
I'm
is
right,
only
which is why I was
we
asking,
have
and I'm like,
yeah,
you're kind of jumping from here and there. You're sweating. It's like, so how many
yeah.
suits do you have?
Just one.
Trade
No,
out from time to
yeah.
time. Air
The
out
battle
from
suit
time to time.
itself was over $8,000,
Oh
and
wow.
so we have one battle suit. Yeah, so we'll have to
Okay.
take care of
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Now,
this isn't Disney. We don't have like
Right.
5 outfits hanging on a rack. Like pick which one or which
right.
next
So
one.
did you update your old suit to be the newer suit? Is that what you
Yes.
did? Yeah.
So it
Okay.
has evolved over time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we different design elements. Over time, like if you see like the way the battle suit looks in the first film
Mhm.
is a bit different to how it looks in the
Mhm.
sequel. I mean, even now when we get to the Surge of Dawn movie and the Doctor Who tribute movie,
They're a little bit different.
it's
Yeah.
even more. Yeah, like the collar is redesigned. There's like these new like ribbed shoulders and like motorcycle ribbed knees, and some of the detailing is now like sewn into it. Just that the number of design elements to just like enhance it. So because other heroes' outfits seem to change during the movies, right? Even like the
Yeah.
Michael Keaton Batman movies,
Oh
right?
yeah. Of
The
course.
costume would change each film. The Spider-Man movies, like
Right.
Yeah.
the
Captain America. Yeah.
changes, Captain America's costume. So they're all changed. Iron Man, of course, it all
Iron Man,
changed
yeah.
movie to movie.
Mhm.
So I felt that I need to kind of show a progression of like advancing it. So I have a great couture shop. So it was originally done by a leather shop up in LA way back in 2003. But there's a couture shop, Margaret's Specialty Couture, um, that does. They do more of like wedding gowns and furs. So
Mm.
they're really excited when I bring in my blue superhero outfit because it's like new and cool to them. But they do a lot of leather work, but it's more like handbags and boots and raincoats. So when I bring in this, like they've got this really amazing tailor, and he loves working on it and coming up with different ideas and stuff. And
Oh, that's
been
cool.
taking care of it. So as the leather gets worn out, gets old and starts cracking, they replace parts, they jazz it up, they brighten up the color, they clean the leather because I'm sweating in it so much. They clean it. Yeah. So just like Mission Hills Auto takes care of my car, Margaret's takes care of my battle suit.
That's cool.
That's nice.
That's very cool. Very
Okay.
neat. Yeah. All right. So you have a new Surge of Power movie coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So you're talking about the one we're working on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the latest move. So as you heard, Surge of Dawn has this guest superhero Dawn
Hmm.
from another creator. The current movie we're working on is called Where There's Smoke, and the guest superhero is the Smoke. So this character is actually I wouldn't even say an actor, but it's actually his personality. So um, his name's Eric Moran. He used to be a professional wrestler, and his moniker in his wrestling days was the Smoke.
Oh,
And
okay.
but he's also big into comics and sci-fi, and he's a very well-known cosplayer. And some colleagues of his that were comic creators had done some comic book um, sort of adaptations of him as the Smoke as a sort of superhero character, and he's had different versions of himself and different abilities, but he's sort of settled into this like one particular um, expression that is now showing up. Well, actually, shows up very briefly at the end of Revenge of the Sequel. I don't know if you guys saw towards the end of
Oh.
the film where Nichelle Nichols' character Omen, she's in
Mhm.
her cave in her lair, and she's doing this kind of like magical portal, like mirror on the wall kind of thing, and looking up
Zoom
different.
conference.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, yeah. Well, more like Santa Claus, like looking at them. They're not seeing
Yeah.
that she's seeing them, but she's looking up different heroes, and so that's where Eric Moran's character, the Smoke, shows up in live action for the first time for like 9 seconds
Oh,
in my
nice.
sequel. So
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so he's portraying the Smoke in Where There's Smoke, and like I said, it's kind of similar to the Surge of Dawn format. It's kind of like this trio of heroes chasing this villain. Um, it's also bringing out a number of new characters that I've created years ago, back in like 2008. So these new characters, Falling Apple, Kid Dynamo, and Grok, who I've been wanting to introduce, and I kind of sowed the seed a little bit for them in live action in Surge of Dawn, but now in Where There's Smoke, they're really coming out into the fore and full on costumes and powers and superheroes. So it's really exciting not only to have another guest superhero in the movie, but to like bring to life other superhero characters that I created many years ago, and to kind of see them in live action and have actors portray them is really exciting. In fact, the actor who portrays Grok is an actor by the name of Kevin Caliber, and he played the original Superman in the Supergirl TV show
Oh,
that's
that's very
currently
cool.
running. So he didn't have a lot to do, but back, if you remember, like the very first episode of Supergirl, when Karen Todd crash lands on Earth in front of Superman, he like rips open the canopy and offers his hand to help her out of the her pod. That's Kevin Caliber. He
Oh,
portrayed
okay.
before they And more
That's
recently,
cool.
of course, they cast Tyler. I'm going to bastardize his last name. Tyler Hoechlin. Am I saying that right? The guy who
Maybe.
currently the guy who currently plays Superman, and then he got his
Okay.
own show, right? Superman and Lois. He got
Right.
spun
Okay.
off
Right.
the show. But before him, before Tyler, Kevin Caliber was the original Superman on the Supergirl TV show. So he plays Grok in our movie, and it's really exciting to see him get excited about it because like it's a character that he can kind of give his own personality to and bring it to life in the way he wants, as opposed to Superman, who's kind of like already so established, just kind of certain
Hmm.
expectations of how
How you're
can
supposed to be and
Superman
stuff.
act,
Yeah.
how can Superman portray himself, right?
Yeah.
Um, and Where There's Smoke is a continuation of a story. Well, it's still kind of picking up from Revenge of the Sequel, and I'm treating Where There's Smoke as kind of Act Two, whereas like Surge of Dawn is kind of Act One of a three part
Okay.
overarching story. So Surge of Dawn,
Oh,
um,
okay. Cool.
kind of a short film. Surge of Dawn runs 46 minutes. Where
Hmm.
There's Smoke is probably going to be about an hour, and then I have
Okay.
a third act in mind. Um, and each of these will be able to play as their own separate movies, but when rolled together, they'll be one big feature film.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And
I get it.
and Where There's Smoke is kind of where all this stuff is kind of coming together, like the stuff where we sowed the seeds about the council, all these villains in the sequel that you guys saw,
Hmm.
and we're hearing about. Um, Omen's friends, she calls her sentries, where you're seeing that, she's got a few clandestine friends around town. So all these things start coming together and Surge, not only like meeting other superheroes, but we really start to see a team forming. So that's
Okay.
really exciting for me to like. I really want to like, finish this film so I can like put that out there where it's a team. A team is happening by the time we get
Right.
to the end of Where There's Smoke, and then after that, there's one more act. I can kind of consider as Act Three that will wrap up all three. The Stuff of Heroes, Revenge of the Sequel, and it'll wrap up all the Surge of Power films and make that this kind of three stories: Surge of Dawn, Where There's Smoke, and this third act called The Final Beginning. That'll be one big feature film. That'll be the third of the installments, right, to make a trilogy.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So that's
Very
where
cool.
I'm headed, yeah.
That's
Do you
cool.
plan to
So,
make other movies, like even beyond Surge of Power? Like, is that something you hope to do?
so there are so when I roll these three acts together, Surge of Dawn, Where There's Smoke, and The Final Beginning, that's the feature film will be Call of the Champions, and like I said,
Okay.
that'll be the third feature, and that'll be the story arc for Surge. That'll pretty much kind of wrap up what I've been kind of telling along the way over all these years.
Okay.
But with some of these new characters, particularly, I hope I'm not kind of spoiling things, but these
We
two
won't
new
tell
characters,
anybody.
Yeah.
these two new
We'll
characters,
keep it between us.
We're just
Kid,
live. That's all.
yeah, Kid Dynamo and Falling Apple. They have Kid Dynamo is kind of a spunky little blonde-haired white guy, and Falling Apple is this really cute, adorable Asian gal, and you can tell that there's sort of a chemistry between Falling Apple and Kid Dynamo. And so,
Okay.
in the back of my mind, I think somewhere as a later Surge of Power film, focusing on the two of them, maybe let them have a movie of their own.
Okay.
Maybe
Hmm.
Surge will show up just to show that he's still in the world. They're still in the same world, but
Mhm.
Right.
let them have their own movie. Maybe have Grok be part of that world too. But an extension of the same Surge of Power
Right.
world, but letting other characters have their own stories. That's kind of
Okay.
that's what I
You'll be
think
a,
will probably. Huh?
Right.
I was just saying, so you'll be a cameo in your own movies, just like all those other actors. So it's kind of like
Something like
a
that.
full
Yeah, I would like
circle there.
backing up so I have less to do and I don't have to sweat as much. And also too, I am probably going to introduce another actor to play Surge at some point later.
Okay. There you
So
go.
I can step out of the Surge role and kind of maybe take a page out of Doctor Who to allow Surge to reconfigure his body so he's you know looks like a different looks a little bit different, which
Well, there you go.
would different actor.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah,
That'd be
somewhere
cool.
down the road, and maybe having other characters. I mean, as you see with like in the Marvel films, you see these characters go off and they're having their own like Black Widow just finally had her own movie, right? She
Right.
Yeah.
showed up. She showed up for the first time as kind of a supporting character in Iron Man 2, and then she obviously became an Avenger. And she's been in the Avengers movies, and now she has her own movie. Um,
Mhm.
so, and you see, some of these other characters kind of spinning off, like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier
Right.
streaming program, right? You saw them established in the Captain America movies, and they continue in the Avengers films. Now they're going off and they are having their own adventures. So, with the world building that I'm doing, I've got so many characters, with different personalities and different powers that I think I can do other things with some of the characters.
Yeah.
Maybe highlight them a bit more.
Yeah,
That's pretty
that's
cool.
cool. Yeah, very neat. Very cool. Very cool. I think that is most of my questions. Um, oh, there's one thing that I did like that I always laughed at every time you said it. You said that pickles my pipe.
Yeah.
You say that all the time, and I'm like, that's hilarious. I don't know. I just this must be one of those. What are those things where you just that's your words? That's
Tagline.
that's your
So
tagline in the movie.
it's funny you say that. So when I was making the first film, I needed an expression, and my boyfriend at the time lived in Texas, and I texted him, and I said, and I needed something, and so I was texting him, and he texts back pickle and pipe, and I texted him and said, what does that mean? And he goes, nothing, just for the yuck yucks. And I'm like, okay. And so I took pickle and pipe and I turned that into his exasperation. Like, if that doesn't just pickle my pipe. Um, but but then after that, that was in the first film, which Surge does continue to say.
Right.
In fact, he even just said that recently when I shot the scene for my colleague's movie where Surge is crossing over to his world.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but one thing that made me think about taglines was um, that show Who Wants to Be a Superhero, sort of like the reality TV show for superheroes. Remember Stan Lee was hosting that? Do you remember that? Many
I've
you don't
heard of
remember
it.
that? Heard
I've
of it?
heard of
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I don't
Had a couple of
remember it.
seasons many years ago. Yeah, it's faded now. It's right. That's that far back that like you don't even remember it. But in doing it to do a submission, they had like sort of criteria. They wanted you to like do a little video. You had to like have, you had to have like a power, a weakness, a this, a that, the other thing, a tagline. So I
Okay.
was taking stuff from the first film and I made a little video explaining and said, hey, I have my own, I even have my own theme song, and I played the theme. And when I got to the tagline, I'm like, what do I have? And I didn't really like with all the superhero tropes that I built into the first movie, like the lame weakness, wearing a pair of eyeglasses doesn't cover your secret identity, whether
Right.
we're a keep or not, all these tropes, and I didn't really like think about the tagline. So Surge kind of test drives a few taglines in the sequel. So
Mhm.
it has a few expressions, and one of them being his sort of like exasperation word, Zapuva. So that's
Zapuva. Yeah, yeah. I
it's
remember.
like it's like an excitement thing like Zapuva, or
Yeah.
like an upset thing like oh Zapuva, or I got you like Zapuva, like take that. So it's sort of it was test driving, and like that became the thing. It's sort of like in the Tick, you yell spoon, or on the Big Bang Theory, like
Bang Theory, Bazinga.
thing, yeah,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so like Smurf. It's used. It's a word that can be used for a lot of things. So yeah,
Right.
so Surge does have like taglines now, but he still does carry over the if that doesn't just pickle my pipe, line. So I'm glad you liked it because it's just sort of. And people ask like, what does it mean? And some people like come up with their own meanings, but it's as I described to you. It came from nothing.
Yeah.
Like just came from like my boyfriend just texted me the words pickle and pipe, and I'm like, what do I do with that? So that's what I came up with.
Right. That's fun.
Yeah,
That's
that
fun.
works.
It does. It does. there have been a couple people that jumped on not too long ago. We got Whitey from Whitey Wicked Workshop,
Hi.
Dave White, and then we got
Tim.
Tim's Talk, I should say. Sorry,
Tim's.
Tim's Talk, which he's like a Kylo Ren cosplayer.
Look-alike. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
much
yeah,
like
okay.
Adam Driver. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Did they
We
ask? Are they asking questions? Any questions we need to
no, that's what I was looking for. I
know?
don't see
Oh,
too
okay.
many questions. Just everybody saying hi.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
okay.
about it. And they're
Very friendly
chilling.
community here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Laid back. Yeah.
So yeah, I was hoping somebody would jump up and ask a question or something.
Yeah.
Well, I can
Okay.
But
always ask them if they have any questions.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Okay.
Jedi Knight did say Dan the car simp. So that's interesting.
I'm sorry.
Last stream, simp. I guess last stream we were talking about what a simp is.
Yeah.
And I guess that's like somebody who loves, has like
It's
an
more
infatuation.
infatuated. Yeah.
Yeah, an
Yeah.
infatuation, an unhealthy infatuation. I think it is.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
okay. A
yeah,
simp. Got
so
it. Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess I'm the car simp for your
Yeah.
car.
Oh, okay. Well,
Dan and his unhealthy infatuations
That's right.
for
well,
Ghostbusters.
the car continues to do things like I said in Surge of Dawn.
Mhm.
Mavis, is a bit more independent. She actually, does some of her own things in Surge of Dawn, and and she's a prominent character in the current movie, Where There's Smoke. And it's also too really delightful. I really like heartwarming to me when my celebrities come back. Like I said, Nichelle Nichols is going to be in all of the Surge of Power films. Lou Ferrigno
Right.
has shown up 3 times now. Um, in the sequel, we shot with, like I said, Robert Picardo. He plays the male form of Ullman to Nichelle Nichols' female form, and he came back to shoot with us in Where There's Smoke. And Shannon Farnan has taken a shine to her Mavis character, especially now that she's got this really cool, very pretty, very regal outfit that's
Oh,
like
there.
it's her
Yeah.
own now too. It's not just the no more of the red and blue. It's just a lovely purple and lavender.
Oh,
We
there
still
you
have
go.
a gold eagle on her chest to have like a little bit of a wink and nod to her past, but she now has her own, unique, look to her. Michael Gray, who played Billy Batson on the Shazam TV show, he plays a recurring character, and he finally gets to display a superpower in Where There's Smoke, so he's excited about that. Um,
Right.
so it's really great to have people return.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is. Yeah.
it's heartwarming to me because it
Yeah.
makes me realize like they must be liking the
Mhm.
Yeah.
project, liking the
Oh yeah.
storytelling, and I hope it also
You
lends
must be having
credibility.
fun too. You know,
Yeah,
fun
I,
is all about. It's what it's about, right?
yeah.
Just having fun.
Oh, absolutely. Well, these are people that I grew up. I mean, this is part of the shtick. Is not just like having celebrity cameos, but also too, it's like these are people that I grew up with when I was a
Right.
kid. Right, I watched on TV.
Watching
And
them on TV.
now they're
Yeah.
like on set with me, and we're running
Yeah.
around together, either
Yeah.
side by side with me as other heroes, or opposite of me as villains. Like in Where There's Smoke, there's two particular villains. One is played by Joseph Culp, who was the original live action Doctor Doom in the first Fantastic Four movie, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie, and Joseph has come back to play this character Spade a number of times, and then this time he's joined by a new villain on the council called Ace. We have Ace and Spade running around together, played by Sam Jones, Sam J.
Mhm.
Jones, who was Flash Gordon from the Flash Gordon movie
Oh,
from the
that's
'80s.
so neat.
So yeah, so like so we had Gil Gerard played Buck Rogers in the 25th century. If I got Buck Rogers, we probably ought to have Flash Gordon, right?
Yeah.
So so anyone who's played a superhero or played a prominent sci-fi character at some point in their life, there's a place for them in a Surge of Power movie.
That's
There you
great.
go. Love it. All right. So R2 did ask a question earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
He said, "What is a comic book movie Vincent would want to see be made?"
A comic book movie that I'd want to see made. Um, if it wasn't before this last season or so, I thought DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths was pretty epic and seminal of a comic storyline. But then obviously Greg Berlanti brought that out in a major crossover amongst the CW show,
Okay.
right? But if there was something, um, no, I'm a big fan of the Justice League, and I think that they've given the Justice League short shrift. So I think there's certainly a number of really big adventures that they could have, with the Justice League.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
one thing that I know this is probably pie in the sky thinking, but there have been a number of times over the years where the Justice League and the Avengers teamed up when Marvel and DC cooperated and they actually put out a story, whether like a book or a number of books. And I even
Okay,
remember
right.
when the Teen Titans and the X-Men um, crossed over. They had
Right.
together. So I think it would be really interesting to see somewhere down the road if they would take one of those adventures and
Mm,
cross over these these characters, because
That would be
it's one
cool.
thing. Yeah, it's one thing to be able to like Marvel certainly got it with the Avengers characters, right? They've got
Hmm.
their arena, they've got the world they built, they have this format of how to produce these films, right? And
mhm.
Hmm.
with a consistency, a consistent look, right? So it's all this like shared universe. But what if they brought something else in? How would they get them together? Like, could the
Right.
Avengers world and a Zack Snyder world, fit together? And I did it on an independent studio, low budget level between the Surge
Right.
Park world and Dawn's world. And if I can get two disparate worlds to come together and work well thematically, in a cinematic format, I wonder if that. I'm sure it can be done. Whether studios and companies will
Yeah.
cooperate enough to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say the
That's the
answer to that.
thing.
Yeah, I would say the answer to that question would be, um, could could the Justice League and the Avengers cross over and meet each other? And if that's too grand, maybe something on a smaller scale. Where I remember reading comics where Superman and Spider-Man teamed up. Right, you take
Right.
Right.
DC's highest profile character and Marvel's highest profile character at that time. Can Superman and Spider-Man team? I mean, we've
Yeah.
Yeah.
seen Spider-Man movies already where, but Iron Man was helping him out in the last movie. Doctor Strange is helping out.
Hmm.
Peter Parker in the movie coming out in December. So that's something that I would want to see, is like see DC and Marvel characters, come together, whether in television or in a movie. But
Yeah. That'd
and
be
like
cool.
I said, there's been a number of stories done over the years that I think would be cool. Something else that I don't think they've really explored much, is on the DC side, is the Legion of Superheroes,
Mm.
which is they've been around since the '60s, and they're set in the future, right? In the 3000s, 1,000 years in the future, and some of those characters have shown up here and there in television. Some characters showed up in Smallville. You've got Brainiac 5 running around in Supergirl these last couple of seasons. But that's an environment that hasn't really gotten its own playing field in live action. So whether a TV show or a movie, I think that will be kind of cool to see, because it's set in the future, and I think it's just like a great place to have sort of a sci-fi adventure. Like I was mentioning
Hmm.
earlier, Tabitha, like the sci-fi, science fiction movies, like just have such a wider playing field and planets
Yeah.
and worlds and stuff. I think that would be cool to see.
Would be
That
neat.
would be.
Could you imagine at the end of a Marvel movie and like nobody, like it's not even in the press, nobody's whispering rumors, and you come, those end scenes or the end credit scenes, and all of a sudden they're looking through a mirror or something like that, and there's like Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and then it just cuts off. It's like, what?
Yeah,
Wait, what?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
crossing over into another world. Yeah,
Yeah.
And like nobody sees it coming, like it's one of those hush hush secrets where it's like not even allowed to let rumors out. That would just be mind blowing. It really
That
would.
would be. Definitely
Be pretty,
would be.
pretty cool. I'd be on board for it if they
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
if they could work together and take care
Yeah.
of the
If,
fans and
if
all that.
companies could work together, that's right.
Yeah, in a perfect world.
Yeah. Disney will say, well, I'll take 70, you take 30.
well,
Right.
it's starting to work in a way, right, with between Disney, Marvel, and Sony, right, to get
Mhm.
Mhm.
Spider-Man into the um, into the Marvel and Avengers films. So
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe Warner Brothers can, play ball with them at some point.
It's true.
yeah, they probably will. Yeah, or Disney will just buy them all out.
But
One of
just swallow them up the
the,
way
one of
they've
the
been.
two.
Yeah,
Forget it. I'll just own you. Okay, how
Right.
yeah,
much?
yeah. Everything will be owned by Disney at some point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's fun. Cool. Well, I guess Tabitha, you got any other questions? That's all my questions are up.
I mean, I guess, one question is, have you ever had like acting lessons before you really first started the first Surge movie?
So yes, I went to Weiss
Good
Barron
question.
School. Yeah, I went to the Weiss Barron School of TV and Commercials back in Philadelphia when I lived in Philly, and in LA, I studied under an acting coach, Sherry Shaw, in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So
Right.
that's my acting training between those two.
That's cool.
I wasn't quite
Where
sure.
Yeah.
did,
Oh, yeah. So I'm technically considered what they call a non-actor. So I'm not acting as a profession,
right.
but I can act. And I do have acting training, and I've been a stage performer before, and obviously I've been portraying Surge, and I've been
Mhm.
acting and in front of a camera, for decades now. So I have some acting chops and some acting training, but I'm still what you would call a non-actor.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not an actor by profession, but I can act. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just how, I mean, you kind of explained, how you got started with the costume and one thing led to another. And I did, I love that story. But how did you get the movie started? Like, I know fun, like you said, it's an independent film. You're not necessarily going to have people throwing cash at your feet to line the walkways.
Yeah.
And I guess just also encouraging. I know we have, and in our little community, we have a lot of content creators and people with hopes and dreams. Like, how do you have maybe some words of encouragement or advice? Like, how would you kind of get started with something like this?
Well, I'd never made a movie before. So, like I said, I started talking with people in the industry, and like I said, a friend at the time had a movie that he was playing in film festivals. So I just started talking with them, and one person knew somebody else who knew somebody else. Um, I'm fortunate that my attorney life allows me to fund my projects. So, that's where the money comes from. I don't usually really take money, from other people, because I don't want that pressure too. I've seen other filmmakers when they've had people invest money in their films, and they want their hands in the film. They want to be on
Mhm.
set. They want to be able to comment and have their voices heard and have their contributions. But so by being able to take care of things myself, I have a lot of freedom, right?
Right.
I'm
Mhm.
doing my own thing. Um, but I think so. For advice for others, is I would say there's probably two things. Is one is if something's important enough to you, to stick with it. Um, Another thing is you know uh, play in the arena that is most accessible to you. Whether financially or whatever works for you. And obviously, here in the West Coast, with Los Angeles right up the road, the film industry is big here. Like I said, a
Right.
colleague of mine back in New York, he does a lot of web series, so that format works for him. Um, and also to like whatever your budget, your capability is. Another thing too is probably like if I was going to give people advice, is I see people, this I see like all the time, is people do their kind of like fan films using other people's characters, right? They do their fan
Mhm.
film of like Spider-Man or Batman, or they'll have like Wolverine meet Batman or whatever. um,
Star
I,
Wars fan films.
I see people do these things all the time, and yeah, they're creating something where there's like automatic recognition, like
Mhm.
people know who Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are, right? And who Batman is. So people do that, but then it's not your own, and you can only do so much with it, right? Because you're using
Right.
people's
Right.
copyrighted and trademarked characters. Um, and one of the things that I have the freedom of is like my stuff is my own creation. These are
Right.
characters I've come up with, even though I mean I may be using actors who played other characters, but they're playing a different character in my movie.
Right.
Nichelle Nichols is not playing Uhura. This is not a Star Trek world, right?
Right.
She's playing a character that I created. She's adorned as a character of my own creation, and so I have a lot of flexibility. Probably the biggest example of like why not to use somebody else's format is have you heard of Axanar? There's a
Afraid
Star
not.
Trek. Nope. Okay. But well, and you probably won't now because I remember when I was hearing about Axonar, it was like probably the biggest budget fan film project that I heard of, where it was a Star Trek world. These fans got some money together and they were making some like very nice budget looking Star Trek related films in a Star Trek world with some actual Star Trek actors. Like I think Walter Koenig actually played. You played his character Chekhov. So they had they were started hearing some hype about it. I remember Richard Hatch, who played Apollo. There's a small cameo in a sequel. When he was still alive, he was talking up Axanar a lot. He was playing a character, and then Paramount, it got wind of this. It got too much attention, and they put a screeching halt to it. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! This is copyright infringement. You are not to put out your project." And so it got squashed, and nothing aired as far as I know. I don't know if things leaked out, bootleg wise or whatnot, but that was like a big fan film project based on Star Trek, and Paramount wasn't having it.
Right.
And so that's the thing is I see people do these things all the time where they're using Marvel characters or DC characters, or as you say, Dan, Star Trek characters, Star Wars characters. And so, Tabitha, to answer your question, I would say, like, use your own character. Even if someone hasn't heard of your character yet, use your own creations because you can do whatever you want with them, and you can go wherever you want with them.
Yeah.
Makes
And
sense.
any unknown character can still go far. I mean, look at Deadpool. How many people in the mainstream ever heard of Deadpool? I'm a comic aficionado. I barely heard of Deadpool, right?
Right.
And Deadpool became like this real, Black
Iconic.
Panther. Yeah, Black Panther was like this small character. Recurring character in the and certainly important in his own way, but not a prominent character that mainstream audiences would be aware of. And
Or like Shang-Chi. Whatever comic books that I had ever read as a child, never heard of him.
And then these series, these web series that are coming up, like Moon Knight. I've heard of the character Moon Knight. I've heard of Moon Knight even less than I heard of Black Panther. So you can take characters that no one's ever heard of before, and they can still become very popular and become relevant.
Right.
So I don't think people have to fear that nobody has heard of their character. But so Tabitha, I would say to creators, like, do your own thing. Don't use other people's characters.
That's good advice. I mean, we're always saying, a lot of people say, we're sick and tired of reruns, remakes. We want originality, and I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you can't get copyright infringement.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Dan, I saw something pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
If ever need prop guys, some talented people. So share with them my email address. And I'm always in need of prop folk and visual effects designers. I have some visual effects designers who've been with us for many years and do great work. But I'm always open to trying out new talent. And we're never in a shortage for props, costume makers, and visual effects designers.
We know some crafty people. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
in our little community, we know a lot of people.
Yeah, ask them. They can email me a resume or email me a description of what they do, or examples of their works, and always up for extra help.
Okay, definitely. You hear that, Dave?
Yeah, Whitey.
I'll send you an email, or I'll send you his email.
Yeah. So have them submit. Like I said, they can email me a resume, a link to something, pictures, or what have you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Cool. Sweet beans. Well, hey, I guess I guess this is it.
Yeah.
Those were all my
Yeah, yeah.
questions. I mean, I could talk
Those were
for
all your
hours and
questions.
ask
Yeah.
you about production, and I love behind the scenes, especially for
Oh,
independent
definitely.
creators, because when you're doing it on your own and everything like that, and you're not having the huge backing of all these other production companies, it's like, how do you do it? That hands on, all
Yeah.
that stuff. I love hearing all that stuff. So I mean, we'd be
Oh,
here for like 3 hours if I was asking all
oh,
my
or maybe
questions.
another session we can do. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
I think,
That's right.
but we at least made your hour and a half target. So we've
That's
got an
right.
hour and a half target.
That's right.
Well, and I do plan on doing more um, with the Big City Chronicles program. I do intend to do more behind the scenes stuff. I just have so many. I have so many interviews with celebrities that um,
Yeah.
I just I've got like a few more years worth of a few more seasons worth of Big City Chronicles episodes. But I do at some point want to do more behind the scenes stuff because with the first two films, like each DVD has a little behind the scenes, featurette
Yeah.
that we're explaining, the me as the producer and the directors are explaining some things and showing some scenes. But I've got a ton of behind the scenes footage from each of the projects. So at some point later, I do intend to like put out some more uh,
Oh, great.
behind the scenes like episodes in Big City Chronicles about the various movies and
Yeah,
projects.
I love behind the scenes. I could spend hours watching how movies are
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. That's
Well,
Lord of the Rings is definitely one of them that
yeah,
I
well,
love.
especially in the low budget world, we don't have all the crazy equipment, so
Right.
when doing visual effects, I think people would kind of get a kick out of like,
Yeah.
how do we make Surge fly, you know,
Yeah.
uh,
There you go.
in ways that like we don't have like all the 3D and wire and crane contraptions that other studios have, but we've
Yeah.
come up with clever ways of making things, you know, you know, look nice and look, at a decent level for what
Yeah.
we're
Well, it's old
used
school, It's like throwback how everybody else used to do things on strings, and stuff like that.
to.
A little bit more advanced than that now
Yeah,
because of computers,
yeah,
but I love
Mm.
seeing how people can work with what they have and still make it look exceptional.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have some clever tricks that we've learned over the years of how to do things. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Very cool. Well, hey everybody, thank you, Vince, for coming on.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
This
you.
it's a pleasure.
Oh,
Pleasure meeting you. Pleasure having you on the show. Um, yeah. Do you have any merchandise that you sell? It's my question. Is
well,
maybe
we do.
maybe some of our guys can buy something from you.
Oh, okay. Well, we do have our Surge Power T-shirts
Oh, sweet.
that has the Surge emblem on the chest and our logo and our tagline. Make a difference where you can. That is our sort of ongoing tagline.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Usually we have these. I used to have a kind of a spot on the website. Oh, and of course the DVDs. If people can buy the movies. But
Hmm.
there's some stuff that we give away. Like when we go to conventions, we give out. I think that little magnets, little swag stuff.
Oh,
Um,
that's
at some comic conventions, they have me appear as Surge, and I talk with little kids about being a superhero.
cool. Hmm.
So play some clips on the big screen so the kids can see Surge flying around and have the posters displayed so they can see that Surge actually comes from movies. And when I talk with kids about being a superhero, kids who talk, I give them a little swag. Um, so we have like I wear
There we go.
my
I
visor
like.
all the time when
Yeah,
I go
that's a
out.
cool one.
Yeah, and it's just all like Surge has this kind of like hip compartment. It's not like a full on utility belt. It's more like halfway around. Um,
Okay.
so we have this. Sometimes at the conventions, I sell like a little kind of like fanny pack.
Yeah, those are cool.
Our fanny pack that you can like wear on one side, like Surge has his
Nice.
hip
That's cool.
compartment.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah, I especially like that towel you had. So
Oh
maybe
yeah. I have a whole set. It's kind of funny. I have a whole set in my bathroom of like washcloth and hand towels, and in the Surge mobile, like I said, I've got like it's got its own
yeah,
towels sitting in the hatchback, so that when I take it through the car wash, not just for the dripping and this stuff, but then I dry it off on the outside with the Surge power towels. It's
that's
vinyl
cool.
wrap.
Nice.
I have to take care of it very just like the car on the inside. It's vinyl wrap, so you have to be very
Mm.
delicate with it.
Now we can find your merchandise on your website.
I think I'll have to see if that page is still up. People could certainly put in a comment if they want, or email us if they want something in particular.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would go to
definitely do that.
surgepower.org. I hope to talk with my webmaster and ask him, because there used to be like a whole Surge gear place on the website. I don't know if that's still up, but people could certainly email us if there's something that they want.
Yes. Yes, Dave. He said he just. Oh, sorry. He goes, I just watched a quick clip. Is that his car? Yes, Dave, it's his car.
Yeah, missed that part of the day. Go back and watch the earlier part of this stream.
Live stream. That's right. We talked about it already.
Car is early. Yeah. So it's not my daily car. I do have a conservative, very simple Altima that I drive. It says metallic green Altima. That's my, quiet, mild mannered day car. But occasionally on the weekends I'll take the Surge mobile out, just because it's an old car, right, Dan? It needs to be driven every now and then, and I need to keep it running, and so. But it's more, it's babied. Yeah, it's not a regular driving car.
Sounds good. And they can all follow you on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a YouTube channel, so they can follow you there too. Okay, cool.
And I'm trying to put a little bit of stuff out. Like I said, right now on TikTok, I've only been putting up the Code of Heroes installments, because they're little 1 minute videos of Surge giving a message of how to be a good hero.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think Phil earlier said something about, hey, you do TikTok, that's cool. So you're a cool guy.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more. I mean, I see people do all these crazy, kooky, and funny things on TikTok. So I wish I had the time to do stuff like that. But
right.
Yeah, Jedi Knight YouTube link. I think I have it in the description down below already, so you can go click on that. And then for those of you who already know, probably, don't forget to visit us at InsideTheBoothTV.com and get yourself some merchandise. We appreciate the support, and that's pretty much it. So thank you, everybody, for coming on and watching. Thank you, Vince, for coming on. Great, good talking to you, good meeting you, and everything else like that.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate being invited.
Hey, you're welcome. Appreciate you answering back, or your everybody else. So yeah, cool. So everybody, goodbye. Thanks. We will see you on when's our next stream? Sunday, which is our Rumble review, and we are going to rumble about which Batman is the best Batman. So yeah. So that one's going to be a fun show. So yeah. Thanks everybody. Goodbye. And have a good rest of your week. Yes.